Hi, Emily again. This is an addendum to LeComte earlier. I sent out the video and just kind of reviewing it, I realized I went through the entire field and I left out two horses. Didn't really talk about them. I don't know if they're necessarily going to be a factor, but I should have at least talked about them. So part two, we'll talk about the number one and the number 11. Number one, Fat Man. Number 11, Pat on the back. Both in, kind of quadrant one, forwardly placed, 1 and 11. Again, they're worth talking about for a couple reasons. One, both of them have won on off tracks. I mentioned the weather is could potentially be favoring an off track or go for an off track, expecting rain. So these horses worth talking about. 1, 4, 6, the horses that when I sort sloppy track come up. 3 out of 4 of those having wins, open length wins. So worth talking about. We'll start at the number one. Getting on a one last out, major bias track that day. Did have to duel for the first part of the race, and then just kind of kicked away. Noted heavily that there was speed favoring, just no passing in the stretch. This horse was all alone late. From a visual standpoint, kind of just looks more turf inclined. So those scratches, the debut on the turf, and then the race that was originally scheduled for the turf, it totally makes sense. To me, physically, that's where that horse looks. So for this race, just kind of, he's got to prove it. One, he's got to face winners for the first time, maiden special weight race, kind of having the track the right way. Physically, I don't know which surface is going to be ideal. And then from a pace standpoint, potentially vulnerable as well. And from the rail, your hand's often kind of forced. So we'll go to the number 11. I'm just going to scroll down. Again, I didn't really show the grid in view, so we can look at that as well. The number 11, the most seasoning out of every horse in this race, debuting back at Saratoga. Good performances there. Ran a B- warm-up paddock plus on debut, backed that up with a win, perfect trip close. Then won over at Finger Lakes, came back for State Breds at Belmont, B-, 2 moves. Have a drop, just kind of question overall whether this horse figures in stakes company. Best of the speed, next time out, acted up a little bit in the gate. Delta Downs got kind of a bit of a strange ride, made an early move, going wide, bump with rival, entering the final turn. So this horse is getting Lasix for the first time. I know Lasix, as Charlie Davis would say, is a powerful drug, can move horses forward. Best figure came at Finger Lakes. Sometimes those figures tend to be a little bit inflated. So, you kind of question, even though he did have an 85. So, pretty solid 80s, mid-80s speed figure. Will need to move forward here. Only time around 2 turns. That was at Delta. Did kind of get an awkward trip. From a pace perspective, we've got him in quadrant 1. You really have to think about the trip this horse is going to get, because Dylan Davis, I don't recall this rider ever riding at fairgrounds, so I would expect him to send. And he's got horses to the inside definitely, and a horse potentially to the outside, depending on what Hernandez decides to do with Statesman, that have a little bit of speed. So he, in my opinion, is going to have to use early and potentially could get that wide trip. That, to me, is a bit of a concern. So this horse, while he does have some seasoning, has some speed figures. I kind of did a speed figure sort. Mid-80s, again, that is that figure leg figure. Has some seasoning. I'm not sold on the trip for the pace. He has a circle in quadrant 1. This is another thing I like to do. I just had this filtered speed figure wise. It's kind of one of those things I like to do in some races, just to make sure, who am I missing? Does somebody jump up that I didn't really didn't really take a look at. Most of these speed figures you can see are all earned in sprints. So we have some kind of wide open possibilities. Whether those horses are moving forward, we don't have any improves except for the 8. Who, granted, this isn't a route. It is one turn, but we do have an improve here. So again, a horse I think is a major factor. All right, short little video. I hope I didn't leave anything out. I hope there's not a part 3 to this sequence. Thanks again for watching. Again, always welcome questions. Until the next one.